Hello, welcome back to my channel. I'm Lena, this is Lena's Bookshelf, and today we are going to do the mid-year book freakout tag. I absolutely love this tag. I have been watching BookTube for years and I've been watching this tag for years. Every year around this time, I get really excited to watch everybody's mid-year book freakout tags. And so I'm really excited this year to do my own. So question number one is, what is the best book you've read so far in 2022? And I think I'm gonna have to go with The Dream Daughter by Diane Chamberlain. And this was actually the very first book that I read in 2022. This is about a woman whose unborn daughter has a congenital heart defect, and she actually has to time travel from the 70s to the 2000s to be able to get the fetal surgery she needs for her daughter. I love this because there's a little bit of time travel, there's a little bit of mystery, there's a little bit of thrilling aspects to it, there's a little bit of romance. It just has everything that you want in an emotional, hard-hitting book. Also, I really loved this because my nephew actually had the same congenital heart defect that the little girl did in this book. I love that the author was bringing awareness and representation to congenital heart defects. Question number two is, what is the best sequel you've read so far in 2022? And I actually haven't read any. I'm not really a big series person. I am planning on reading The Amendment by Kirsten Modglin. It's the sequel to The Arrangement, but I haven't picked that one up yet. So I'm planning to, but at this point, I haven't read any series. Number three is, what is a new release you haven't read yet, but want to? So the two that I haven't read yet are The Island by Adrienne McKinty and Mother Noise by Cindy House. And I plan on reading both of these this summer. Question number four, most anticipated release for the second half of the year. So I have a pretty long list. So on this list, I have Keep It in the Family by John Mars. I have The Lost Girls of Willowbrook by Ellen Marie Wiseman. I'm super excited for this one. The Family Remains by Lisa Jewell. Stay Awake by Megan Golden. The It Girl by Ruth Ware, and The House Across the Lake by Riley Sager. And when I'm filming this, The House Across the Lake comes out tomorrow. So that will probably be the first one off of this list that I will read. Number five is, what was your biggest disappointment? So my biggest disappointment would probably have to be Blue Ticket by Sophie McIntosh. I thought this was going to be a dystopian novel, and there ended up being very little dystopia in it. So there was very little about the society in this book, and it was mainly just her surviving in the woods while pregnant. And so I had a hard time feeling sorry for this girl because she made decisions knowing the consequences, and she made decisions against kind of the advice of everybody around her. I don't know, there was a lot about it that just didn't really compute with me. It felt very detached. There was no emotion in the writing, no emotion in the characters. So it's a shame because I really like dystopian novels. I was hoping this was gonna be the next Divergent for me because I love Divergent, but oh well, this one was pretty much a disappointment. The next question is the biggest surprise of 2022. And for that, I'm gonna go with All the Ugly and Wonderful Things by Bryn Greenwood. This is a age gap romance with a little bit of historic fiction and a little bit of suspenseful aspects. It's a lot of different things mixed in one, but it's not smutty, it's very wholesome. And you're really following a girl who tries really hard to make a life for herself out of a really poor hand of cards that she was dealt. And this other man that kind of helps her to build her own life, to figure out what she wants out of life, separate from this horrible existence that she lives as a child with parents who don't really want her, neglectful mother, things like that. So I was very surprised with this because I wasn't sure how I would feel about an age gap romance, but nothing really happens until she's 18. So consent is not an issue with this book, which is what I was a little bit worried about, but I found myself really rooting for the couple in this. I really got attached to the character of Wavy, the main character in this. And yeah, overall, it just surprised me how much I loved this book. So the next question is a favorite new author. And so I know some people use like a new author who maybe had their debut this year, or others just talk about an author that they found for the first time this year. And so that's what I'm going to talk about. So this isn't necessarily a new author, but she's somebody that I just found this year, and that is Samantha Downing. So I have read For Your Own Good and My Lovely Wife, and I just recently he started it. This was unhauled to me from Jessie's library, Reading with Jess. And overall, I just really like Samantha Downing's writing. I feel like it's easy to read, but I don't feel like it's written below me. I feel like it's well written. I feel like her plots are very thorough. This is really an author that has stood out for me this year. Next question is, who is your newest fictional crush? And I'm gonna have to go with Leo from Something Wilder by Christina Lauren. I just recently read Something Wilder, so stay tuned for my June wrap-up so you can hear more of my thoughts. But it's basically a second chance romance, and it did just recently come out. And if you're interested in learning more about it or hearing a book discussion on it, check out the Talk Bookish to Me podcast. But I just really liked the character of Leo because I felt like he was true to himself, but he also liked to take care of others. And I feel like throughout the book, he didn't lose himself. He seemed to have very high standards for himself and for others. And he just seemed like a very genuine person. So he would probably, I haven't read too many romance this year, but out of the romance that I have read, he would probably be my fictional crush. Hard to have a fictional crush when you read so much serial killers and so much true crime. Next question, question number 9, is your newest favorite character. So I'm gonna have to go with Ginny from Keeping Lucy by T. Greenwood. So Ginny gives birth to a daughter that has some disabilities, and against Ginny's will, her daughter is taken from her and put in a special school for children with disabilities. Well, Ginny later finds out that her daughter is being mistreated. The children are being abused and neglected in this school. And so Ginny actually steals her daughter from this school for children with disabilities and goes on the run with her. The way she talks and her viewpoints and her empathy is way ahead of her time. This is set in 1969, and the way she's thinking about things and talking about people and talking about human rights and disability rights is definitely beyond her time. You're definitely following her as she's figuring out, okay, who am I outside of just being a housewife and a mother? Can I be more? How can I be more for this little girl? And she is just such a badass, and she is just so kind and caring and open. Question number 10 is, what is a book that made you cry? So the only book that has made me cry so far this year is The Sound of Gravel by Ruth Werner. This is a memoir about a woman who grew up in polygamy, and you're kind of following her experience as a child. She had a very large family, and she had a very large family between the siblings with her mother, but then also her father had a lot of other families, other wives with other siblings as well. She speaks very openly about a lot of the abuse and neglect that she suffered at the hands of, I believe it was her stepfather. She goes into a lot of detail about her siblings and some of the hardships that they went through as well, and it just was heartbreaking. And the way Ruth speaks is just so well thought out, and the way Ruth speaks is very self-aware. And it just really hit home for me that, you know, somebody can go through things like that and still come out of it with empathy and compassion and a want to help others. And I just think that Ruth Werner is such a strong person. And so I did cry during that book, but that's the only one so far this year. Number 11 is a book that made you happy. And for that one, I'm gonna go with The Maid by Nita Prose. This is a cozy mystery, and it's about a woman who cleans hotel rooms. And she sees the world from a very unique perspective, and she doesn't always pick up on social cues. So sometimes people will say things to her and she won't really understand what's happening, and she thinks about the world very literally. And so unfortunately, people start taking advantage of that, and she actually gets framed for murder. One thing that I liked about this book is that the reader knows what happened long before the character does. And so you're just kind of waiting for her to figure it out, and you're following her through these hijinks as she's trying to figure out, okay, who murdered this person in this hotel room, because it wasn't me. And there was a little bit of romance in there, and the ending was just so wholesome and so sweet. I don't know if I'll pick up more cozy mysteries because it was a little bit cheesy, a little bit kitschy, but I really, really enjoyed it. Next is number 12, the most beautiful book you've bought so far this year. And I'm gonna go with A Slow Fire Burning by Paula Hawkins. Look how beautiful this book is. Oh my gosh, it is so pretty. I bought this full price. Just when I saw the cover, I was like, yes, I have to have that book. I don't think I even read the synopsis when I bought it. And unfortunately, this was not a good book. I didn't enjoy it, but I might keep it just because it's such a beautiful cover. Let me know in the comments below if you kept a book that you didn't like sheerly because it had a gorgeous cover. Let me know, because I'm sure I'm not the only one. The last question is, what books do you need to read by the end of the year? And if I went through all of those, we would be here for a long time. Basically, I need to read all of the books on my physical TBR by the end of the year because I am trying to read to zero. If you're unfamiliar what reading to zero is, I will link Jacqueline's original video down below. But my friend Jacqueline over on her channel, she was doing this thing called reading to zero where she prioritized every book on her physical shelf without buying too many new ones. And I am buying a couple of books here and there, but every month I'm making sure that I'm reading more books than I'm bringing in. So since the beginning of the year, the number of physical books on my TBR has drastically gone down, and I need to stop filming hauls. So I just recently filmed a haul. I'll link it up in the cards, and definitely go check that out because hopefully there won't be too many more hauls on my channel for the rest of the year until I'm done reading to zero. But that is all of the questions on the mid-year book freakout tag. Let me know how you think I did. It was really fun to think back through the past 6 months and think about what I read and what I thought about them. And this is a good practice for kind of my end of the year wrap up. But please make sure you hit that subscribe button. It really helps out my channel. And I will see you in my next video. Bye.